We call this June 2nd meeting of the Morristown City Council to order, and welcome those in spread out fashion today that we finally returned to our chamber. So we'll begin with calling on Councilmember Al Ahern to lead us in our invocation and pledge to the flag.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day, Lord. We thank you for this opportunity to gather together and serve you here for our city, Lord. Lord, we just ask for wisdom and strength in what we've got to do today, Lord. We just ask for continued blessings on our city, Lord. We love you and we thank you for your grace. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Al. Council members, let's check in. And we have all present. We, this morning, or this afternoon, encourage council members as we are, our sound system is feeding into the training room, to be sure to speak into the microphone. And those who are maybe out listening to this, when you come to the podium, I'll remind you, there is no microphone at the podium, so please speak up then. We thank Cindy for figuring out the spacing and either the credit or the blame, whichever it is. And thank you for that. We have before us the minutes of our last meeting of May 19th. If there are no corrections to those minutes, I'll entertain a motion they be approved as written.
So moved.
Motion Ahern,
Second.
second Bivens, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the minutes are approved. We open the floor now for citizen comments about items which are on today's agenda. There are several items on the agenda. If you wish to speak to one of those items, if you come forward to the podium, give us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and the floor is now open.
My name is Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. I sent an email this morning and a follow-up this afternoon, Mr. Chesney, and in particular in the center regarding item 9C3, the selection of sports facilities management, and authorizing Mr. Cox to enter into contract negotiations. I received a reply that said I would find out today at the meeting, which doesn't provide any opportunity for me to have any preparation or know what's going on. And Ms. Center, I'm very disappointed that you would not simply respond and tell me who created the committee, who's on the committee, how was the selection made, and are there any documents to show evaluations or however you did it. I don't know how you did it. I don't know if you met, I don't know what happened. And I'm sure I'll not get a response here either.
Anyone else? No? Okay. We'll close this portion of the meeting and go to our public hearings. We have 3 today to conduct. The first being ordinance number 3649, which is entitled an ordinance to annex certain territory and to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the city of Morristown. This is the annexation of the property which we approved on first reading at the last meeting of the southwest intersection of West AJ and Talbot, Kansas Road. And it has the Hamlin County tax parcel ID number you see before you, and has the zoning designation of intermediate business in R3, which is high density residential. The general location is shown on the attached exhibit. And Josh, do you wish to speak to this and open our public hearing?
Yes, sir. She just noted this is a request for annexation for property at 7425 West Andrew Johnson Highway. So this is in the far west end of the county, right there on the Hamilton County, Jefferson County border. The applicant is requesting the northern portion of the property be zoned IB, intermediate business, and the southern portion be zoned high-density residential, R3. A separate developer is seeking to place a multifamily development on the southern portion you see up there, designated as R3. Alpha Talbot currently provides water services to this property, and Moorstone Utilities and the developer are finalizing an agreement for sanitary sewer to be extended to this property. Staff recommends approval of the annexation request with the zoning designation of IB and R3. And Planning Commission voted in support for this request at their May meeting, 5-0 vote.
Is there anyone that wishes to be heard on this item for annexation? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion on this consideration, and I would entertain a motion that we adopt.
So
Motion Pedigo,
moved.
and we have a second. Any discussion or questions the council wishes to ask? Are we ready to vote? Let's vote. And the motion carries, and it is adopted. Our next item is actually a resolution. It's resolution 13-20, which is adopting a plan of services for the annexation of the property which we just approved, also at that southwest corner of Talbot, Kansas Road and West Andrew Johnson Highway. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to the plan of services? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion that this plan be adopted.
So moved.
Motion Smith.
Second.
Yes. Okay, push the button. All right. We're getting used to back in the door here. All right. Are there any questions or comments from the council? Are we ready to vote? Let's vote. And that motion carries. Our final public hearing is for ordinance number 3650, entitled an ordinance to amend the municipal code of the city of Morristown, Appendix B, and that the following described real estate be rezoned from intermediate business to high-density residential. This includes the 7.56 acres of the land owned by C2 Investments located on the south side right-of-way on East Morris Boulevard, formerly part of the Fox Farm subdivision, bounded to the rear by East Village subdivision and to the west by lands of the United States of America, and to the end by Doris Lynch. And it's currently having been assigned the Hamilton County Tax Parcel ID number that you see before you and shown in the exhibit. Floor is now open.
Yes, sir, Mayor. As the council may or may not remember, on May 19th, I brought this rezoning submittal to you from Mr. Philip Carlisle. He's requested rezone a portion of his property, which is currently zoned IB and shown on the map there, to R3. It is located between the Omen Staffing Office and FedEx office along East Morris Boulevard. And Omatex Corporation is located directly across from this site on East Morris. As seen on the map, up on the screen, the 13-acre tract, as I said, is currently zoned commercially. Mr. Carlisle's request is for the rear 7 acres only to be rezoned to multifamily or R3. The greater portion of the lands east of Frank Marino Park along East Morris Boulevard to include the East Village subdivision has developed and remains residential in nature since Phillips property was annexed into the city in 1976. Concept plans were approved by the Planning Commission in May for a proposed multifamily complex to be located on the site should this rezoning be approved. As residential development is the primary use shown on the city's future land use map in this area, staff has recommended that the rezoning request be approved. The Planning Commission at their May meeting did vote unanimously to send this request to City Council with a approval recommendation.
Is there anyone from the public that wishes to be heard on this item? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion that this ordinance be adopted. So motion Smith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the council?
Yes, I've got one. I made a vote against this the last time. I think this is just basically to rezone this property. I don't have a problem with the rezoning of it, but I want to be doubly sure that somewhere after this point, that the traffic situation on Morris Boulevard be corrected to where the people coming out of this complex can go left or west, maybe south on Morris Boulevard. I'm not sure of the direction, but to turn left out of the complex. I think that may pick up that problem later on. That was my biggest concern at that time. And just wanted to go on the record to let that be known.
Any other comments, questions? Are we ready to vote? Let's vote. And that motion carries, and then it is adopted. Under introduction, we have some ordinances for first reading. The first is ordinance 3651. It's the ordinance of the city of Morristown adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year which begins July 1st and ends June 30th, 2021.
Council's aware we've been working for a number of weeks to develop this budget. There are a lot of questions that are unknown because of the economic and COVID situation. This is the best plan we can come up with based on the information. As we discussed during the previous workshops, we anticipate continuing to review this on at least a quarterly basis to see if we need to make adjustments either in either direction to adjust the conditions. And based on the information we have before us, we would recommend approval on first reading.
Do we have a motion to that recommendation?
So moved.
Motion Pedigo. We have a second. We have a second. Any questions or comments from the council?
Do we have a number for that ordinance?
3651. Are we ready to vote? Let's vote. And that motion carries and is set for public hearing 2 weeks from today on June 16th for second reading. Next is ordinance 3652. This is the ordinance of the city of Morristown to amend Title V Municipal Finance and Taxation.
Council will recall we discussed during the budget workshops moving the due date for property taxes to October. That allows our residents a little more time to prepare for the bill in this environment. It also brings us into alignment with the county. This ordinance does that. It brings us into alignment with the due date for the county, and it makes adjustments to do that. The ordinance was drafted by city attorney. If you have any questions.
We have a motion to that recommendation.
Move for approval.
Motion Center. And we have a second. Any questions or comments?
So everything, the discount and everything else apply, just the date is all we're changing, correct?
The penalties were adjusted a little bit to be parallel to the county section.
So it's 2% now, it used to be 3%.
The discount did not change, just the penalty amount.
2% still good for the month of October. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Any other questions or comments? We're ready to vote. Let's vote. That motion carries. That ordinance likewise is set for public hearing on June 16th. Next is ordinance number 3633.02. This is an ordinance to amend ordinance number 3633, which is the City of Morristown annual budget for the fiscal year 2020, and to appropriate additional funds totaling $106,163.
The ordinance you passed a little earlier in the meeting had to do with the budget that comes up in July. This is an ordinance to clean up the budget we're about to finish up here in June. This recognizes some additional grant funds that came in, the timing of some capital projects. This is being done in preparation for closing the books and the upcoming audit. We would recommend approval.
We have a motion to that recommendation.
Move for approval.
Motion centered. And we have a second. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, let's vote. That motion carries and is set for public hearing in 2 weeks. We have some bids and contract decisions to make. First is the approval of a bid from Bewley Excavating, the amount of $274,248. This is for multiple stormwater projects.
These are projects, as you indicated, for stormwater drainage repairs. It comes out of the stormwater fund, the fees that are collected for that purpose. There are a number of projects scattered across the city. Our engineer LDA prepared an estimate. Based on the estimate and the bid, we feel very comfortable recommending awarding the contract to you.
Do we have a motion to this recommendation?
So moved.
Motion Bivens. Do we have a second? And we do have a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, are we ready to vote? Let's vote. And that motion carries. Next is the approval to declare excess clay soil from East Tennessee Progress Center to the Tennessee Board of Regents as surplus.
Council's aware that Lot 2, East Tennessee Progress Center, is an area we're gonna have to grade down in order to develop. This is an area that has some very good clay, but we have already made a donation of clay to the landfill for closing certain cells of the landfill. We also offered some clay to TDOT for the exit 4 connectors. They were not able to utilize their soil based on some internal regulations. But this is a request that comes from the Board of Regents to provide a pad to build the expansion of TCAT. It's a project we've been working to try to make happen. We end up with a better site in the Progress Center, and we end up with a improvement to the facility at TCAT. We think it's a win-win. We recommend approval.
Do we have a motion to this recommendation?
So moved.
Motion Ahern. Do we have a second? And we have a second. Any questions or comments on this one?
Tony, I believe you said there is no cost to us, is that correct?
That's correct. They will take care of all the erosion control on the site, and they have to leave the site in a condition that's ready to be pad ready for the area they clear. So we actually get improvements to the site we would have to pay for otherwise.
The soil is a contribution.
And that's correct. We're giving away dirt.
We like to pay.
We ain't giving away the Isleworth load.
I'm sorry.
We're not giving away the Isleworth load.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
We're just allowing them to come.
Okay.
We ready to vote? Let's vote. That motion carries. Next is the approval of a request for proposal from Operations and Management Services for the Community Center as submitted by Sports Facilities Management LLC, and to allow our city administrator, Tony Cox, to enter into contract negotiations.
Council's aware that we've got plans to move forward with the community center. This RFP was submitted for the firm that would operate the community center and help us oversee the construction process. Miles Bayer Center headed up the review committee for those RFPs, and I think that she will be happy to make a report on their selection.
Do we have a motion to put this on the table? Motion Pedigo, is there a second? And we have a second. There are some questions that have been posed, and Kate, you want to address those?
Yes, sir, thank you. And Ms. Noe, I thought it best that at one time, as I responded to you in the email, that I would outline the process today so that everybody could hear it at the same time. If you have questions following this, be glad to address those. But we have a timeline. This followed the process of any RFP that has been before the city. It's the first time I have participated in RFP, and 7 members were on that committee. That is Joey Barnard, Assistant City Administrator, Larry Clark, myself representing council. There was only 1 council member on the committee. Ashley All, who works with Joey Barnard, Craig Price, from Parks and Recreation is the director, and Frankie Cox from Parks and Recreation, and Michael Poteet. So there were 7 people on that. The RFPs went out on April the 16th. They were advertised on April the 16th, and then again on April the 19th. The RFP deadline to return, and it was a mail-in return, we had 3 return proposals. Those came back on Tuesday, May the 19th at 2 p.m., and Joey Barnard and Ashley Owl were the 2 that were there to read those aloud and open them. The 3 that submitted proposals were Sports Facility Management, known as SFM, Spectra Venue Management, and John Captain, NFC. Each committee member was given, there were no meetings. Committee members were given proposals to review and also a score sheet. And those score sheets were scored independently by each member on the committee and submitted to Ashley All on May the 27th by 2 o'clock. The selection committee met one time during this process, and that was on the date of May 28th, which was last week. The purpose of that meeting was to assemble, to look at the total of those scorings, and the scorings were totaled into 100 points. You know that you can request any of this through a records request and get any of this information that you mentioned in the email to me. It was really interesting. I think Joey and Larry both said that they never participated, and I think Craig made that comment too, that all 7 scores picked the same one. And so the recommendation, that was the first time that they've been in an RFP committee where the scoring fell out to where there was only one that rose to the top, and all members had voted on that, and that would be SFM, Sports Facility Management. From here, on June the 16th, which hopefully will be next meeting, Joey is contacting SFM, and they will come and present to council their proposal. I'm suggesting that what we will have an opportunity to do as council members and as the committee, that any questions that you would like to have them be ready to address in their presentation be submitted to Ashley All by 2 o'clock this Thursday. So if you have a question that you would like to have them be sure that they address in their proposal, that you be sure you submit that to Ashley All. On the 16th, that will be in a work session following the council meeting, that we would have that presentation if they are available. If they are not, we may have to have a call meeting. The reason for the selection of SFM was because of, in their proposal, how they addressed working with the community. And that's why we had Craig Price from Parks and Recreation and Frankie Cox from Parks and Recreation, because this is a process that is going to incorporate Parks and Recreation with another level of opportunity for our citizens to participate in the community in additional ways and expand that program for our citizens. So what we are wanting to do in this process is to underscore the importance of being sure that we address what our citizens want, because it is a community center, and we know that we have to marry the 2 together in order to get the best program possible. This will not be, we are authorizing today Mr. Cox to move forward with a contract, but as we mentioned in the committee, this is a contract, an RFP, that is going to be moving forward into a contract and will be official after we vote today. That will be a process. It won't just happen in one meeting. It is too big of a decision, and the scope is broad because it covers all of our citizens, local and anyone who wants to use it. So it will be over a period of time with lots of information going back and forth. The purpose, just like Mr. Pettigo was on the committee that worked with the construction manager, they felt like a council member being in a project such as this that would address the community, it was important to have a council member. So that is why I was on the committee. The committee, you asked if it was advertised. It did not have to be advertised because they're not those other than when the bids are coming back, unless you have more than one council member meeting with. So there was only one council member at the meeting. So I hope that answers all the questions I believe that you put in your email, and that if there's any of the documents that you want, the score sheets, you may submit a records request. Thank you, Mayor.
I'd like to underscore, this was an outstanding proposal. When you get a chance to look at it, it's extensive. The firm has a great deal of experience in these types of facilities, and as Kay indicated, we're beginning a relationship that will be ongoing. We're going to take almost 2 years to build the facility. During that time, we will be working with these people, laying out guidelines, rules, fees. A lot of decisions will need to be made by council. Working with their experience and their advice, I think we're going to be in a great position.
Well, the contract that the city administrator negotiates, council
Yes.
is the final vote.
Yes, and as Tony mentioned, thank you, Tony, there will be various decisions along the way, because that contract is multifaceted.
Thank you for your participation of that, and as we work towards this project, Councilmember Pettigo for the selection on the construction manager, and now the operations company, Vice Mayor Center. Thank you for your time and participation in that, and look forward to this as well. Are there any other questions or comments that any of the council may have about the selection of this company? Are we ready to vote? Let's vote. And that is approved. The next item is the approval of the inspection and maintenance agreement between the city of Morristown and T. Philip Carlisle with C2 Investments LLC. This is for the Bridgewater Point subdivision.
Council is aware we do these on a regular basis with development. As you indicated, this is at Bridgewater Point. We've worked with Carlisle previously and other developments. Feel very comfortable that they will maintain their responsibilities as laid out in the agreement. We recommend approval.
We have a motion to that recommendation.
So moved.
Motion Ahern. And we have a second. Any questions or comments?
Just a comment, if you've not been out there, there are houses coming out of the ground. It's going to be a very nice development. If you get a chance to swing by, it's worth your time.
You can see some of those, I think, when you come across the bridge from the station. We're ready to vote. Let's vote. And that motion carries. We come to the city administrator's report, Tom.
I've got several process things I need to bring to your attention. The first being, in your agenda package are a number of budget transfers reflecting adjustments within departments. The charter provides that I have authority to make those adjustments. For example, if in the sidewalk department, if we spent more on gravel and less on concrete, to move between those two line items. That's the kind of thing you're seeing here. It does not change the bottom line, but it does require me to report, and that's the purpose of the package you have in your agenda for the budget transfer line items. If you have any questions, give myself or finance department a call. We'll be happy to walk through. Also, if you'll note at your desk, there's a 3-ring binder that includes a great deal of information on the community's debt. This is your first annual debt report. It talks about all the various bond issues, both with the city and in the U.S. that we guarantee. It gives you a lot of detailed information, dividing it with combined debt, city only, MUS only, and various ways to look at it by the purpose, by the bond issue. It's going to be a good tool if you spend some time with it. We plan to do this on an annual basis. It is part of your debt policy to receive this report. Hopefully you have some time to spend with it, because the finance staff has put a lot of time and effort into giving that to you, and I think there's a lot of useful information there. I do want to report that we're getting close to the new public works compound being ready to move in. We've got a substantial completion on buildings D and E. C is very, very close. We hope to have A and B very soon. They're putting up siding on the A building, which is the admin garage building today. We'll begin moving as soon as possible. We will be in operation from those buildings this month. It's going to be a difficult time in transition, but it's going to be very nice once we're into the new facility and in operation. With regard to the virus and our ongoing adjustments to the situation, that is changes from guidelines from the state and national level are handed down. You will notice that this building has been opened further. We're now doing business on both this floor and upstairs. We continue to screen people as they come through the door to ensure that the safety of the employees and our visitors, and we make sure we have contact information in the event that we have a problem. We can get back with those people. Tomorrow we'll be opening further. Our park system will be basically open for everything except the splash pad, soccer fields, and Tally Ward. We will not have contact sports available, so basketball courts will still be closed, and there will be no organized team play. Those facilities will be open for practice and for recreational use. So as the regulations become loosened, we're opening up our facilities a little more. We continue to modify. As you see, we haven't had a meeting the same way twice for a while now, but we're trying to continue to protect the community, meet the guidelines, and set a good example. So that's our game plan, and that's my report for today.
Thank you, Tony. We now open the floor for comments and communications from the public on any particular topic. Again, if you introduce yourself by name and address, you'll have 3 minutes. The floor is now open.
Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. Okay, I appreciate your response. Don't know why it couldn't have been very easily typed in. Yes, we had a meeting. Yes, there are evaluation dates, but we'll let that go. I wanted to ask one question. It was very difficult to hear back there. I believe you were up with your microphone. You said you put the bids out on the 16th of April, and they were due on the 19th. Is that correct?
No, they were advertised 19th of May. They were advertised again on the April 16th and April 19th, due on May the 19th.
Okay. Couldn't hear back there. Are you all going to videotape your meetings and put them out there now? Because I know you're showing it over there.
Videotape what meetings?
This meeting?
I don't know that we're videotaping it. It's live across the hall.
How about live for the public somewhere at home that can't
Public
get
is
here?
welcome to attend any meeting that we have.
Gary, do you know how many people have walked up here and either they're elderly and they can't come to a meeting like this, or they're in a wheelchair? Let's think about everybody, not just people that are able to walk in here. Those people that are elderly, that are handicapped, or have other difficulties, they're citizens too. They pay taxes too, and they deserve respect. And videotaping your meeting would be one of the nicest things you could do to let not only them, but people who have to work during your meeting, give them an opportunity to see the meetings. You have a wonderful website with all kinds of videos and information. Your meeting is the most important thing. Here's where you set the tax rate, you set your budget, you approve contracts, you annex property, you rezone property. Let the people know. It's really not hard. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we'll close this portion of the meeting and open for comments from mayor and council members. I would like to mention a couple of things. One, I'm sure I speak on behalf of the council, but we'll each have an opportunity to speak, but our appreciation to Chief Overholt and the Morristown Police Department for their actions on Saturday evening and into the early morning hours of Sunday with the peaceful protest and demonstration in March, which was held, and later in the late hours fell apart a bit, into where they were called on to stand the line and had to endure a good bit of abuse that we don't like for our police force to endure, but they're trained and they know how to do it. And their actions on protecting the city center are admirable, and we want to congratulate you and tell you we appreciate your efforts, Chief Overholt, and your men and women on the police department. We know we had backup help from the Highway Patrol, from the Sheriff's Department, Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, and those in Jefferson County and Jefferson City. We appreciate the work you all do. Want to add that from our task force on the coronavirus, more reopening, and as Tony mentioned, we're doing some more reopening of public parks. Our number creeped up another notch today to 43, and just last Wednesday it was 26. So 1 month ago today it was 18. So you can see that's moving up, and as we reopen, we'd like to call on the public to exercise the shift to personal responsibility, to follow the guidelines that of hand washing and masks and distancing. As the numbers go up, we have the formula for minimizing the spread, and we encourage the public to exercise those directions. We also want to mention that next Tuesday, beginning at 1 o'clock, we will begin, this council will interview candidates for the vacancy of our fire chief. Chief Honeycutt is retiring. We hope to have a recommendation if those interviews go well, if the council is ready to make a choice 2 weeks from today. We'll do that the result of the interviews. We have 4 candidates who responded to the notice that the vacancy was present, and we appreciate our HR person, Nicole Sizemore, in coordinating that, and we'll have those 4 candidates to interview next week beginning at 1 o'clock. We will have a beer board meeting immediately following this, and we will have a work session following the beer board meeting, and those are my comments. Anything the council wish to say? The floor is now.
I would like to commend the police department for what they did for our downtown area and the whole citywide. But it's very professional, very orderly, and just thanks so much. And so many of the merchants have said that they appreciated what you all did.
I would also like to thank the police department and all the other departments who helped you to be able to keep it to the point that you did. I know that there were a lot of things that were said, and then you called it to a halt at the appropriate time when it was going to get out of possibly, go farther than it should. And we thank you for that. That's why the training and the equipment and the integrity of your department is so important to us. Thank you very much.
I don't take anything away.
I would like to try to get the police department and the rest of them the true salary increase that we voted on and yet to fulfill. So that's what I would like to appreciate you guys' work.
Not to take anything away from any department, any part of the city. I think everybody does an admirable job. But I have, after what I witnessed the other night, I have to say that there's no doubt in my mind we have the best police department in the state of Tennessee, and most likely the best one in the nation.
Anyone else? Any comments? If there are no other items to come before the council, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn. We are adjourned, and